Hey, welcome to step number one in developing a generous church. Over the next 5 modules, we're going to take one module per step and begin to kind of walk through a basic game plan of what are some different things that you can begin to implement into your regular weekly rhythms, your monthly rhythms, and even your yearly rhythms to help you move your people forward in this generosity journey. First of all, I want to celebrate the fact that you're engaging in this conversation. That alone says a lot. And I'm excited to see what God will do, how he'll use you, how he'll work in your life and your church's life in raising the temperature, turning the thermostat up into this specific area, which I think is a very important area for a church to learn to adjust to adapt to, and to walk forward in. And so step number one in building a culture of generosity is simply this. If you're taking notes, you want to teach the proper concepts of generosity. So let me walk you through some different ways and methods to actually kind of go about that. So teaching proper concepts of generosity. First step of this is you start with God. Everything is central there. God is a give first God. And if we serve and we have a give first God, then we need to also be a give first people if we are followers of him. A great way to talk about this and even teach about it from the stage or during a sermon is bring up John 3:16, for instance. For God so loved the world, he what? He gave. He is a give first God, and he gave his first, he gave his best, being Jesus Christ, so that you and I, we could have life. We could find new purpose. We could begin to enter into a right relationship with our Creator. And so if we have that and we call ourselves followers of him, then we too need to be give first people. The second thing is adopt language. Create language that helps people know in a simple understanding of how does this correlate to my day-to-day living. For instance, give, save, live. Give, save, live. Give first. We give first to God from everything that we come. Why? Because that honors God as being the number one priority in our life. So set aside a portion of your income so that you give that first before everything else is paid attention to. Second of all, you want to save second. Why do we save second? Well, saving is the thing that helps us build wealth. And then third is learn to live on the rest. And when we live on the rest, what we are doing is we're building into ourselves, we're teaching ourselves the art of contentment, learning to be content with the things that God has given us. Now, the problem is so often we in our society, we do it the opposite. We live on everything that we have. If we have a little bit over, then we'll save that. And then as a result, God gets the leftovers, which is really not honoring to him, in that everything that we have, good gifts, come from heaven above. And so we've got to challenge our people to adjust the way that they're thinking, adjust the way that they approach their finances when it comes to giving, when it comes to saving, when it comes to just the day-to-day living. And so reiterate over and over and over, create language. You can do exactly what I just did with you, give, save, live, or come up with other language. But those are the basic principles that you want to drive home with your people, that we give first to God, it honors God. We save second, we're building wealth, we live on the rest. This helps us build contentment. The next point, when it comes to teaching proper concepts of generosity, it's important to do a giving series at least once a year in the life of your church. A series doesn't need to be 12 weeks. It doesn't need to be half a year. I would encourage you to set aside a portion of your year to do 3 or 4 weeks directed into this area of how do we learn to live generously? Why is it important for us to learn to live generously? There are a lot of fun ways that you can approach this. But again, I would come at it a holistic approach in teaching about generosity. Talk about the way that people use their time. Are you being generous with your time? The way that you use your talents, that God has created you to be a workman, for his good, for his kingdom, that he has a calling on their life. Are they using those things in a right proportion towards kingdom activity? Talk about their touch and how they relationally connect with other people. Are you living generously towards other people in the way that you serve and sacrifice? And then lastly, you can touch about the practical giving from a financial standpoint as well. And what I've found out is this is just a necessary part of the discipleship journey. A lot of people have never actually been taught the proper concepts of generosity from a biblical perspective. In the Old Testament and through the New Testament, you see this theme of what generous living can look like. And so walk your people through both an Old Testament perspective and a New Testament perspective and help them build a proper grid of what generous living actually looks like and help them understand that a generous living is actually a greater way to actually live. And a great way to actually help drive this home, connect generous living to regular moments in the weekend. And so if there's been an incredible opportunity and God did a breakthrough moment in small group ministry or children's ministry, take a moment and just celebrate that. Say, guys, I don't know if you realized, but last week we had the opportunity to be able to host, let's say, a vacation Bible school. And we saw X amount of kids come here each and every week. And this amount of people were actually disconnected from the local church. And we were able to welcome their kids, welcome them as a family to experience what life here at our church is like. We would not have been able to do this if it wasn't for your willingness to live generously. Thank you for generously giving of your time, volunteering so that each kid could have an opportunity to hear the gospel message this week. Thank you for your financial generosity, because your financial generosity of being above and beyond, it allowed us to do some extra things to create an incredible space to be able to knock down any walls that people may have had so that they'd be able to hear the gospel. This is who we are as a people. Thank you for embracing that. Thank you for living generously and being a generous church. That's some practical ways of how you can actually connect generous living to regular moments through the weekend. I want to encourage you, if you have a generous living type of series that you've done and you preach, share that with the rest of the group. Go to our community. Let us know. Love to hear any of your concepts and ideas of what you've done and when it comes to driving this home. But don't miss even the regular trickle over and over and over. How you connect the offering moment, how you even talk about communion or baptism, connect that to generous living, and you will see the culture of generosity grow in the life of your church.